In this video, I'll be sharing some factors that you should be considering when choosing either an Oxford or Cambridge college to apply to. My name is Éireann. I run the Student Journey channel, a channel dedicated to supporting you on your student or application journey, as well as sharing some insights of my own. So, choosing a college. If you're applying to either Oxford or Cambridge or some other collegiate universities in the UK, what you find is you start to prepare your application and then you realise you have to choose this thing called a college. So we'll start with what is a college and why does it matter. A college is essentially a small community in which you live and perhaps study from time to time. It's got some key resources including access to a library, access to a dining hall or a cafe, accommodation, welfare support, social activities, and yeah, it's essentially just where you live. Your department, on the other hand, or your faculty, is essentially the teaching department that deliver your course. So no matter which college you go to, your course is essentially the same. The only variation is your college often organises or arranges your supervisions or tutorials, so that's your small group teaching. So that kind of varies slightly, but on the whole you get the same degree and you attend the same lectures, all from your department. If you're applying as an undergraduate, you apply directly to a college and they assess your application. I know that's definitely true of Cambridge. It is your college who decide if you gain entry into the university or not. Whereas if you are a graduate student, you are assessed completely by the department and your college choice is kind of a secondary thing. So your college accepts you after you've already been accepted by the university. So that's for those doing postgraduate study, i.e. masters or PhDs. There is of course the option to do an open application, and that is where you say, I really want to apply to university. I don't care which college I go to, just throw me anywhere. I'd recommend that if you truly do not care. However, if you do have the slightest preference, even if it's just for something you don't want, I would say it's much safer to choose a college and put a college down. This is particularly important at the University of Cambridge, where there are at least 2 women's colleges, and if that's a space you don't want to be in, definitely make it clear because you could just end up there. Similarly, at both universities there are colleges that are a bit further away from the city centre, and if you really wouldn't want to end up there, I would really recommend selecting a college rather than doing an open application. So the first and most important thing to consider when selecting a college is essentially the subject offering. Now, most colleges offer most subjects, and if you're applying for something quite popular, it's usually the case that you'll be fine wherever you apply. However, for those more niche subjects, it could be the case that a college that you're interested in doesn't offer it. Now, it's not because they are good or bad, or because there's a college for maths and a college for English. That is not the case at all. It's just the case that some colleges do not offer courses because they do not have the academic staff in place to support students. So if you are at a college at Oxford, you have a tutor, and if you're at a college at Cambridge, you have a director of studies, sometimes called a DOS, and they're the person who just supports you with your course from the college side. They talk to you about what papers you might want to choose, they look at your reports and how you're doing academically, and they're based in your college. If a college doesn't have somebody who specialises in, say, architecture or philosophy, they will not take those students, and that's because they just want to support you. So before you select any college, just double check that they offer your course, and that will be available on that college's website. This is similar for postgraduates. Some just don't accept particular courses, again for very similar reasons. As an example, I studied education both at Oxford and at Cambridge, and I was quite limited in the number of colleges I could apply to. Again, that's just because there weren't, a high number of education academics dotted around colleges. They were definitely more concentrated in some places than others. So that impacted my choice to some degree, but I still felt like I had a lot to choose from. The second thing to consider is the location of your college. So colleges are scattered across the university city, some being further from the centre of town, some being very close to departments, some being close to kind of general points of interest such as museums or parks. So think about, what is it you'd like to access? What is it you would like to be near? What are your kind of priorities in terms of where you're based? What I will say is, on the whole, the cities are generally quite accessible. So if you aren't right next to Sainsbury's, it's okay. You should still be able to find a local supermarket or be able to travel 5 to 10 minutes to Sainsbury's if that's kind of within your ability. However, if there are points of interest or things that will just make your life easier and manageable, do prioritise that. Again, for me, as somebody who studied education, I ended up at colleges that were super close to my department. It wasn't actually the reason I chose them. I chose them based on other factors. However, they were so close, and it meant that, you know, between lectures, I could pop home and make myself a hot drink, or I could pop back to college and pick up food, or, you know, put my laptop away if it was getting too heavy. So that was really useful for me. It wasn't a priority, it was just a kind of nice to have. But if that's something that matters to you, do think about that. Have a look at a map of either Oxford or Cambridge and see where these colleges are in relation to particular areas of interest for you. A third thing to consider is facilities. As I mentioned in the introduction, all colleges will have a library, all colleges will have study space, accommodation, a dining room, a cafe, and usually some kind of welfare spaces. Some might even have a chapel, but not all of them. However, there are some ways in which they vary. So I would say most will also have a gym, but some might not. Some will have sports grounds and sports facilities either on site or at a separate location. Some might share them with other colleges, so you might have two colleges sharing a football pitch or tennis courts that you travel 5 to 10 minutes to access. Some might have dance studios. Most will have music practice rooms if that's something you're interested in, and some have some really cool things like indoor and outdoor swimming pools. So consider these kind of bonuses, and if there are some that you would really love to have, prioritize those colleges, or at least put them on your list of colleges to consider. Additionally, in terms of facilities, some might have newer or older accommodation that you prefer. So it could be the college I went to anyway. Every first year got an ensuite room. Again, that's not the reason I chose it, but it was really helpful. All of that being said, there still are university-wide facilities that everybody shares. So the university has its own gym as well as public gyms being available. There are dance studios that you can access either from the university, or most colleges are actually willing to share, and societies that use these resources will kind of borrow them from different colleges. So don't think too much about it. If there's something that matters to you, yes, a college might have it, but it doesn't mean it's the only one available in that university. Number 4 might feel slightly superficial because it's aesthetics. And although it kind of sounds cringe to say, it's completely fine to want to live somewhere because you think it looks really nice. That's completely okay. And if you're a student who is studying something such as history of arts or architecture, I totally understand that that's something you'd want to think about and prioritise. That being said, sometimes the age of the college and perhaps its history is reflected in the interiors and the kind of accommodation availability, so bear that in mind. Some colleges might not look as pretty on the outside because they're modern and that's perhaps not to your taste, but they probably are quite high functioning on the inside, so bear that in mind when thinking about accommodation. Additionally, don't make aesthetics your only reason for choosing a college. All these colleges, as long as you are a member of the university, are yours to kind of access and walk around. So you can look at them when you want. You'll probably pass them on a daily basis. So don't feel like you have to live inside them to truly appreciate them. Number 5 is slightly vague, and that is just feel. So this could be the size or the personality. It can be influenced by the aesthetics, but just get a feel for the college. So I prioritised a large college because my 6th one was large and I really enjoyed that. I liked having that space. I liked having a number of people that I could choose from to be my friends. And that's just what worked for me, and that's something that I cared about. I didn't want to be in a very small community. However, for some people that's really important, and that's the feel that they're going for. Additionally, is there a college that has a particular mission or feel that appeals to you? A great way to get a sense of this is to look at their social media, look at their website. What kind of values are they putting forward? What does their voice sound like? That was a really big point for me when I chose Oxford. I chose Lady Margaret Hall because they had the foundation year course and because my kind of own academic and personal interest was in access and inclusion in higher education. So I wanted to be in that space where I felt that those values were seen and heard and really important. So get a feel for the size, the community, the voice and the values of the college, and you can do that by visiting in person or just having a kind of, you know, a little spy on their website and their social media. A final number 6 that is particularly important for those of you considering postgraduate study is just what funding is available at the college. So at my current college, I knew that if I didn't get the UK RI funding that I was looking for, so it's very PhD specific, I knew that that the college had kind of funding opportunities that might be able to compensate for that if I wasn't awarded that. So if you are a postgraduate student and funding is very important to you, or perhaps an undergraduate as well, do look at each college's funding page to see what it is that they have on offer. I hope this has been helpful for those of you considering applying to Oxbridge, or just those of you who are curious. Please do check out my channel. I have other videos specific to applying to Oxbridge, and do feel free to ask any questions you might have in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you soon.